How many real friends do you have? This is made by Joe Bart. Let's watch the video. Credit to him, though.
If I were to ask you how many friends you have, you might be able to start counting and give me a genuine answer. Some of you might immediately know and say 3, 4, 5. Some may say 0, and some may need time to count. But
well, for me, I'm gonna say if we're speaking like friends, like talking, I can tell you right now, I probably have like 6 to 7. But if we're just talking about real friends, maybe like 3 or 2.
when I ask you that question, the immediate question that follows up in your brain is, well, what makes somebody my friend, right? You're going to be going through the people that are in your life and determining whether or not you would count them as a friend, whether or not you would say that they're just a work acquaintance, whether or not they're actually somebody that you're close with. And
yeah, I mean, I guess most of them are just work acquaintance, but the few who aren't are basically friends, or at least from either from middle school, who I've, talked to, or just in general in high school.
How close they may actually be to you to determine how good of a friend they actually are. My point is the answer to the question how many friends you have is not a simple one, because you have to also know what constitutes a friend. Knowing somebody is a friend or not, it's not that parallel, right? Somebody is not either your friend or not your friend. They may be your friend, but they might not be as close of a friend as somebody else. And
I feel like he's talking about like what counts as a friend, like what really makes a friend, Well, for me, I only know like personally like 3 people I can say maybe they're like friends.
This brings up the point of today's video, is there are multiple different types of friends, and those people are going to impact your life in various ways. This entire video is going to be about a specific chapter, book 8 in Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, where he talks about 3 different types of friendship. The first being a friendship of utility, the second being a friendship of pleasure, and the third being a friendship of virtue. And every single person you know will fall into one of those categories if you count them as even being your friend. This is very useful in determining how close you are with somebody, because it's not that simple to know how close you are with somebody that's your friend. Obviously,
I actually didn't thought it like that. He's right. I mean, I guess I can kind of categorize each friend to what categorize specifically they are, like how close specifically they are with me.
So your closest friends, it's easier, but somebody that you've just met or you've been friends with for years and haven't really, done much with outside of having a conversation here or there, it helps you categorize those people. Not in a bad way, but in a sense of, hey, this person's way closer to me than somebody else. And it also,
I mean, I could say this to you right now. When you're young, you tend to have a lot of friends. Though it might not be some. There are some who only have a few. But majority of the time, 100% of the time, all your friends through elementary, through high school, are only friends with you just because you're with them in, those times. You only know them because of forced to be with each other 7 hours. So, but anyways, yeah, I can say when you're older, tend to lose them. Not because, you hate each other, but more like because, people have things to do. When you're older, people have different plans in life. Some go left, some go right. But it doesn't really mean that, that everyone hates you. But, it just happens. That's what I like to keep in mind, is to understand that sometimes people got things. Like, gotta realize that. Though it's something, it could be tough, because though for me, it wasn't easy to communicate with others. I had a hard time. But even so, I did my best to make friends. Sure, I still have some few, but I wouldn't say few friends that stay to you through your adulthood are gonna be your real friends. I will say that 100%. If you have like maybe 3 or 2 or even 1, doesn't matter. Those guys, best friend, your friend for a long while. Trust me, somebody who got out of a high school, I can tell you right now, all the friends you made through those times, poof, gone. Because I remember that when I was in high school specifically, I had a group of friends. I used to be talking to them.
it helps you understand how, number one, morality and friendship started and how that actually affects our society. The first friendship that Aristotle talks about is a friendship of utility, and you would more commonly know this today as somebody that you would describe as an acquaintance, somebody that you do work with, somebody that helps you at school, somebody that you interact with maybe on a daily basis, but not somebody that actually, hangs out with you or does anything with you outside of the specific thing.
Yeah, for me specifically, I did have a lot of those friends. Especially right now that I work, I have acquaintances. They're not like friends, because we don't do really anything outside of work. And through high school, it was a similar thing for a few couple. But there were some, I will say. There were some. Not at work, but maybe like 1 or 2 through high school, if I remember. But yeah, there were some few. So I guess I can categorize, like he's saying, 90% of my friends since, even in college right now, it's the same thing, just because of the class. After that, it's not like we're going to talk anymore. But yeah, pretty much.
That you need them for and they need you for. You have an even trade-off. You provide them something and they provide you something in return. And this is obviously subconscious. You're not actively thinking about this all the time, but those are the majority of the friends that you have will fall into that category, because you know more acquaintances than you have friends, because you interact with people on a daily basis. basis that you need to do things for, and they need to do things for you as well. I also want to say I'm going to explain all three of these friendships, and then we're going to wrap back on why this even fucking matters, okay? So the second one is a friendship of pleasure. Now, what a friendship of pleasure is somebody that you like, but not in that way, right? Somebody that you may see as funny or good looking. You like specific attributes about that individual. You like hanging out with them. You do things together. You share a drink. You talk. You go bowling. They're your friend, right?
So somebody who you enjoy having time with. Yeah, I do have one person of that specifically.
Those are the people in your life.
And no, I don't mean it like that. So don't you think wrong.
That you are not deeply close with, but you would describe them as somebody that you hang out with on a weekly basis. They're your friend. And I don't mean it like a sexual manner. I mean, you're attracted to them on a personality basis.
Well, I get it. He doesn't mean it quite literally, but he means it like in a different meaning. Not literally, like literally, not like that, which I kind of understand what he means. That's what I mean too. No, don't think like that. You know who I'm talking to.
Basis, right? You like what they bring to the table outside of them helping you with classwork or your job or something like that. You think they're funny, right? You enjoy being around them. You enjoy telling stories to each other and watching movies. You have similar interests. You like them on a personal level. And the last one is a friendship of virtue. And these people are far and few between. You will meet or have 1, 2, maybe 3 friendships of virtue in your entire life. These are people that know you on a deep, genuine level. They push you to be a better person, and they are somebody that you genuinely believe makes you a better person. You need them in your life, and they need you. They are a utility friend. They are a pleasure friend, but they're beyond that, right? They are 3 in 1. They are somebody that you truly connect with, and vice versa. Friendships of virtue take abhorrent amounts of time to develop as well. You will never just spark up a friendship of virtue. They always start as a friendship of utility or a friendship of pleasure or move up the ladder, right? Most people that you would be thinking about right now that you might say is a friendship of virtue, if you have one right now, is somebody that you've known since you were a child, right? You grew up with them and you understand each other through the struggles that you have been through your...
Yeah, I was saying you just read my mind, but I was literally going to say that I do have a friend like that. I guess he's going to explain why not.
Own personality changes. You have still held a bond, even if you both on an individual level don't match at surface value. You are friends. You are true friends. Now, quick side note, Aristotle butts in here and basically says that he's lying. There's more than 3 types of friendships. There are also other friendships that don't have equal standings, right? Friendships of utility, pleasure, and virtue are even trade-offs, right? You are 50-50 friends. There are different friendships, quote unquote, that exist in your life that you wouldn't even really count as a friend. Father and son, right? Mom and daughter, mom and son, father and daughter, right? Those are friendships that exist in your life where they are uneven, right? You might not describe them as uneven, but you owe more love to your father or mother than they owe you. They're the reason you exist. You're not the reason they exist. So on a fundamental level, you are capable of loving your mom or your father more than they are of you. That's at least what Aristotle argues. You don't have to agree with anything I say in this video, obviously, but that's basically the argument that's being put forth.
That is interesting. I guess he's right. I guess I could technically say it like that.
Another one is ruler and subject. That's the terms that are given, but more, akin to today's world, you would say your boss. You don't love your boss, but you have to have a higher appreciation for your boss than your boss does of you. You have to serve them in some way.
Oh, yeah. I guess he's right. I had a boss specifically in my first job who, let's call them Jamie. That's not the real name, but let's call them Jamie. Jamie wasn't a very helpful boss. Lazy, in fact. Yeah, I can say this right now. I'm glad to be out of there into a new job.
The other one that he gives is husband and wife. I fucking hate that one because it's just, Aristotle living in a time fucking thousands of years ago where women were, seen as lower and the trade-off wasn't even. I think nowadays husband and wives love each other equally. I think that's just a bad point that he makes. Now, why the fuck does this matter? Because to be a complete self, you need friends. Aristotle says, for without friends, no one would choose to live, though he had all other goods. Now, Aristotle's not saying that to be a good person, you need friends. You can be a lonely, successful, good person with friends. All he's saying is that to be a complete human, right? humans are innately social creatures, regardless of you being introverted, right? Having virtuous friends, having the last type of friend is something that makes your life whole.
I guess the idea that owning everything doesn't really mean anything if you don't have certain things, I guess he's meaning. I mean, I will say this, I can understand. I believe that you can have all the goods in the world and be happy, yeah. However, you have to have a reason why you want to have all those goods. At least in my understanding. Since I know money can't buy happiness to some, but it can buy for most. Knowing what to spend on. Like for me, if I have good money, I will be happy knowing I buy stuff for my family. That's like a good example I want to say. Now, if you're like single or alone, you're all this kind of riches and power, I can kind of understand, but at the same time, no, because I'd rather not be poor and sad than being rich and sad. You get what I mean? That's what I mean.
And it is very hard to get those friends, but it is something that people must strive towards. It is easier to build a pyramid with other people than building it alone. Now, I'm going to contradict myself from previous videos. I tend to say all the time that morality is something that exists with humans and humans alone. And it is a necessary illusion that is required for society to exist. I'm not saying that morality is a bad thing. I'm saying that it just is not real outside of people.
I would say, okay, I kind of disagree there, because the fact is, some animals have a sense of understanding of helping one another, which I seen in like cats. I seen in cats. I seen some in dogs, which, you know, it just depends. There, because in nature, I heard stories of some animals mean some kind of like warning for the predators. Like I feel like animals that have some sense of morality, they kind of understand. I seen like gorillas, as an example. I seen videos specifically where they teach them like sign language or, you know, certain things that humans do, right? I seen they can kind of understand good or bad, which I know there's some proof right out there that can disagree, but there are some that I can tell you right now that seem to have some kind of morality. Some animals tend to have a morality to help one another,
right? And I'm still going to stick by that in the sense that I think that morality is something that is only recognized by humans. But
we humans tend to be able to understand morality. Well, I don't want to say see, but I want to say like feel. Like you can feel it. You can know exactly. Let's say read it. We can read and understand what is right and wrong compared to an animal. However, I want to say that animals may not understand what it is, but they can act it. It's by their action to some.
Morality is rooted in friendships of utility, not just within human to human relationships, but also with human to other animals. Humans and dogs is a great example. Going way back, right? I'm not even talking now where if you were to kill a dog, yeah, people would be like, that's fucked up. But I'm saying you go way back, right? Where humans and dogs interact with each other. If you gain something out of that animal, you are going to deem them as a friend subconsciously, even if you don't recognize it, right? Obviously, dogs are named as man's best friend. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but my point is that dogs and humans interact on a deeper level than an animal-to-animal basis, right? They are a utility friend. Your dog.
I'm not getting it a little bit pretty much. Is he trying to say like dogs can acquaint with humans, like they can trade, like you do this and I do that, do this and you do that?
Dog gives you some sort of value in, you know, caveman times or way back historically. They helped you hunt. They helped herd specific farm animals. They still do that today. But even now on a deeper level, your dog, while they may not protect you or hunt for you, they give you a level of happiness, and in return, you give them food, you keep them alive in a house to sleep under. You have a trade-off with that animal that you don't have anywhere else. And now, obviously, culturally, some societies do kill dogs, and they don't see them as utility friends. But when you have a utility friendship with an animal, whether it be another human or a different species, you deem it as wrong to kill that animal. And that, I believe, is the start of morality within humans.
I agree there.
Is because if you value that individual, you attribute some sort of worth to them, and taking that value away.
So you're saying humans can comprehend what's right and wrong. That's what I'm understanding by the video.
Is effectively, putting it bluntly, fucked up. Now going back to early morality, like eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth era, where if you killed my son, I would go and I would kill your son. That is not something that is, you know, coincidental, is what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that people did that because you're trading off utility as well. Obviously, it's a level of revenge behind it and a level of anger that you have towards that other individual, but it's also because you deem that person useful that they kill. If you had something that, you know, was a part of your group, right, say like a sheep or something that you didn't deem as useful and they killed it, yeah, you might go kill their sheep, but you're not going to be as upset because that was not as useful to you. On a selfish level, humans are driven towards morality based on how something affects them. And even if it doesn't affect them specifically, we are still empathetic creatures. We are capable of understanding how somebody feels in a given situation, even if you are not actively experiencing it in that moment. It is also something to note that the only level of friendship you can have with another animal outside of humans is that of utility. You will not have any friendship with an animal on a deeper level for pleasure or for virtue outside of utility. Even your favorite dog that you've ever had, they will never surpass the first tier of friendship in your brain. In ancient Rome, it was very hard for kings to get their sons to listen. They were effectively snotty nepo babies. They didn't want to do as they were told. They didn't want to do their job. They didn't want to do work. They didn't want to learn. They didn't want to listen, right? And how they would try to get these people to listen, how they would try to get these kings' sons to listen, is they would get another child to befriend the king's son, and they would whip him every...
Oh, damn, that is not good. Imagine that was me. Oh, heck no. I would not want that. Oh my god. Imagine though, just your friend who is the rich one. You're like, hey friend, how you doing? What's up? I'm doing good, you know? And then his dad comes and like, son, how dare you not clean your room? And then I get hit. Like, what the hell? That's not me, you know what I mean? That would have been fair. But I could kind of understand what he'd be, because in around ancient times, people couldn't hit the prince. Nobody could. So I guess that's a clever method, because they have a sense of empathy for the other kid who was getting hit for them. When they see that pain, they're like, oh dang, I gotta act up so he doesn't get hit.
Time the king's son disobeyed, because it was a rule that you were not allowed to hurt or lay a hand on the king's son. So instead, they would get another person to befriend the king's son and punish him every time the king's son messed up. Now,
I hope they paid the kid's parents good, because that is not good. I can already imagine the many times the kid got whooped, especially if they're not, you know, from close to a high status. You know, that would have been worse if they were from a lower income.
The whipping boy was obviously paid, and this was
okay. That is good.
Something that he had to endure, and it was terrible. But the idea behind this was that you would recognize the morality in the friendship, and the king's son would act better because he felt the pain that his friend was experiencing. You care about people. You care about people you care about. Circular argument here, but that's putting it bluntly. Through caring about your friends, morality exists. When you have friendships of utility and you have friendships of pleasure and you have, you know, virtue later on, when you interact with people and you become close to them, that is what ingrains a set of moral values in you, because when you see something bad happen to them that you wouldn't want to happen to yourself, it aggravates you and it gives you a set of universal principles that you or a society begins to live upon, because it's not as simple as, you know, previous times where it's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If it doesn't happen to you, you don't care, because you like that person and you don't want to see them suffer, because seeing them suffer is effectively you suffering yourself. It is also to be noted, and this is very specific for guys as well, because guys tend to hang out in groups more than women. Gaining a friendship of virtue is much harder in a group. If you are a guy thinking about your friend group right now, you probably know 6, 7 guys. You may be a friendship of virtue with one of them.
6, 7. Okay, I'm sorry.
Or none of them. Because when you hang out in a group, you can never truly understand an individual on a deeper level. I
can see why. Because when you're in a group, this is what I'm understanding. When you're in a group specifically, let's just say a group like of 5 people, right? There's always going to be that one guy who's going to get left out, and the leader is going to be focused. And so many people that they tend to forget that one little guy in there, you know, and they're not going to feel bad about it compared to, you know, the other rest of the 4. Or let's just say they jump one. If everyone does it, it feels good, you know, and they don't feel bad because everyone push each other to say like, hey, this is actually not bad. This is right. You know what I mean? No, it's not good, but you know.
As you meet and talk with them alone, because that is where you truly get to understand somebody on a deeper level. Friendship.
So as long if it's like small, the friend group, 2 to 3 people, the more you're gonna understand, or the more close you're gonna be. That's what he's saying.
Friendship of virtue also doesn't have to agree with you on everything. They just have to know what you think, not about your specific sports team or your favorite food. They need to know what happens or what you think happens when you die. They need to know what you think politically. They need to know what you think religiously. religiously. Now, it's not something that you should just go and word vomit out to them in hopes that they'll become a virtuous friend. It's something that happens naturally. But you can never be a virtuous friend with somebody that you don't know on a deep level.
So it has to be like, it has to come by itself. That's what he's saying. Yeah, I can agree with that, because if you force something with people, it's not gonna work out. It always tends to break and fall, you know? I've seen it through a couple of times.
What makes that person tick? If you know if you can think of a friend in your brain right now where you understand them on that level and they understand you on that level as well, then you are more likely a virtuous friend with them than somebody that you just like going to the bar with. Another point that needs to be made is that Aristotle says that bad people can inherently not have friendships of virtue because they need to gain something out of the individual. And friendships of virtue, it is a dead even trade-off. You make each other better. And most people that are bad.
Yeah, I can see that, because if all you have is fake friends, they're never gonna want anything good for you. They're always just gonna, talk shit. They're always gonna be talking bad about you, behind your back. It's something annoying, and I experienced it multiple times, even from our old friend groups. So some might say no when I confront them about it, but it doesn't matter. I say you be you. If people don't like you, just let them be. Just find some people who do.
Not most. Bad people, Aristotle says, are only capable of having friendships of utility and pleasure because they want to gain something out of the individual in front of them. They are not wanting to give in return. Now, obviously, they may, but not on an equal level. I really believe that morality is rooted in language and friendship. I think that's how it formed historically. I think people were able to grasp what they believed on a more universal level on how things that didn't affect them still made them feel based on how they developed friendships with other people. But yeah, I don't really know. This is kind of a rant just about friendship. I don't know. I kind of want to just film really niche, random fucking topics. A lot of this is going to be, fucking random.
It's good. I'm liking it so far. It's really made me think deeper. W video though, for real.
Random topics I'm reading about currently, or stuff that I had to take classes on or write papers on in college, last year before. But let me know what you think. Let me know if how many virtuous friends you have. How many you...
Well, let's see. I could say for a deep level friendship, I have 3, but it's a good video.
Utility and pleasure-based friends you have. Outside of that, I hope you guys had fun watching this video. I don't really know the exact point that I'm trying to make. It's more so just a general rant about...
Well, I could see your point. You're basically saying, like in your title, how many friends do you really have?
You recognizing the value of the people.
Well, I may not really know the actual numbers. It really depends, personally, if the people who are friends with me are really, there for me when I, hang out. But let's just hope it's on. And thank you.
That are in your life, and also the root of how friendships even began. But yeah, appreciate y'all, and I will catch y'all on the next one.
W video though, for real. Go subscribe to Joe Bart-Philosophy. Great channel. All credit for his video. And thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.